Alright, this is After Effects Lesson 2, and this is part 2 of 2. And I just got done colorizing my drop shadow there. And now I'm going to add an effect, and I want to do the same thing. I'm going to add it to this entire travel logo. So we're going to do a color emboss. So let's look up color emboss. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag it onto our layer. And you'll see the color emboss shows up down here. And let's kind of maybe zoom in on it a little bit. And I'm clicking the space bar for my hand tool so I can kind of look at the different things here. I want to look at the text and the globe and the travel up here because it's going to affect all of it. I want to add a little bit more to my relief. I'm going to select it and move it to the right, and you can kind of see what it does there. Maybe not too much, maybe just a little bit. Maybe do 2 looks pretty good. You can kind of see a little bit on everything. It doesn't look too crazy. Let's see what contrast does. Kind of hard to see since I probably my memory is not strong enough to show me in real time here. I'm going to try about 60. And zoom out a little bit. That looks pretty good to me. Okay, now I don't want to add something to the entire travel logo. I'm going to add an effect to just the destination Paris text. So let's go into our travel logo. You can double click here, or you can just click on the tab. I'm just going to move my destination Paris text up to the top just because I just wanted to see it there. Just a personal preference. I believe I said I was going to do, let's see, bullet train. So let's type out bullet, and bullet train comes up right here. It's in a this is an animation preset, so there's a animation that's already been done for us. So let's click on that, and I'm just going to, instead of this time, I'm just going to click it right onto the text. And you'll see it disappears, but it's got a little, this little cursor here shows that it did take effect. You move your time indicator to make sure it works, and it did. And once again, if you want to see where the keyframes are for this, I'm selecting on the layer, and I'm hitting the U on my keyboard. And that brings up my keyframes. So these are the keyframes. So say if you want it to be a little shorter, you can move this keyframe here. Maybe you want it to start a little bit later. Let's make it shorter. Okay. And maybe we'll go back to our TV settings. We'll do a quick preview to see how it's looking so far. I don't have my preview up here. We'll hit the play button. You can see the flashing. And you can see a very quick, let's go back and make that effect. Go back into there. Let's make it a little bit longer. Go back to our TV settings. I'm going to hit play for my preview. Here you can see it a little bit better since it's slower. Good. All right. All right. Next, let's go ahead and fade out our the entire logo. So once again, we'll click it out here. We won't go inside. We'll use it in the TV settings on the outside of it. And we're going to, since we'll do the whole thing, and we're going to make it transparent. So if you see, we'll go into our, we don't want effects, transform, our opacity. I believe it's also T for transparency, but it comes up opacity. So somewhere towards the end, we're going to add a keyframe. So click on the opacity. Now that keyframe there is at 100% right here. So that's full opacity. Now we want it to fade out to nothing, so let's move this to 0, and you can see it fades out. And I'm going to make it a little bit longer there. Yeah, I'm going to give it a little bit of, at the end, that way when it jumps and it rotates, you can kind of, it doesn't look so quick. Okay, good. So that's transparency. Next thing I want to do is I want to do a pre-composition. So inside the travel logo, so let's go inside our travel logo. I'm going to select, so now I'm going to add some effects where I might want maybe just these two together. So I'm going to select that rotated type and our globe logo, and I'm going to right click, and there's this option here, Precompose. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to rename this. We'll call it maybe our rotated globe underscore logo, and make sure we want this to move all attributes into the new composition. We don't want to leave them, and don't click any of those. And we'll hit OK. Okay. So now if we go into our TV settings, we go into our travel logo. We have a composition within another composition. So we have a composition within a composition, and that's called nesting. So now let's go ahead and add an effect to that. We'll add. I tend to like the. So go into your effects and presets, and we're going to type in hue. I like the hue and saturation. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to drag it onto my layer. So now this should just affect just this logo part. Now let's move our timeline so we can see that it's not affecting our destination Paris. And you also might notice that some of our other effects aren't showing up here because we did it outside of that. So they show up here where we actually put it on this part. Just so you're aware of that, in case you freak out and see, oh, my bevel isn't showing up. So you're just going to go back here, and then you can go back to your TV settings and see, oh, there it is. All right, getting off topic, sorry. I'm going to move my time indicator back to the beginning. Maybe not at the very beginning, just maybe close to the beginning. Doesn't matter. Okay, so now I'm going to give it a keyframe up here. So this is under the channel range. So give it a keyframe, and I want to know where that's at. So I'm going to hit the U. And once again, this is under the rotated globe composition. So I have my keyframe here. So that's where it's going to start with these colors. Now I'm going to move my time indicator, and I'm going to move this master hue a little bit, and it turns the colors of both the text and the globe. I'll move this over just a little bit, and move over a little bit more. Maybe make it yellow. And another thing you can do is you can also change the lightness or the saturation. I'm not going to use the saturation at this point, but that would make it a little more gray. Maybe we'll do that later. And maybe I won't do the lightness on the yellow because it almost makes it disappear. Yeah, so I won't do that. Maybe I'll, whoops, maybe I'll darken it. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna move it over a little bit. Let me change that back to 0. Change my saturation to 0. I'm going to move my master hue over to green. So if you want it to be real bright, you can use the saturation to the right. Maybe we'll bring our lightness over a little bit. Not real wild about that, but just to show you what you can do. Move over my time indicator. I'll change this back to 0. It's back to 0. And move this over to blue. And we'll move this one back to purple. So I'll move my saturation back to right back here to the beginning. So it kind of starts and ends. Let's go ahead and repeat those frames too. Just kind of have it repeat through here throughout. I'm just gonna move these over a little bit. I don't need that first frame since this last one's already purple. I'm gonna select all these keyframes, and I tend to do the copy, edit, copy up here because sometimes, for whatever reason, the shortcuts don't seem to like it sometimes. So I tend to do this sometimes. Edit, copy, and then edit, paste. You can see it repeats it, kind of like how we did with our drop shadow. Okay. Let's go ahead and go to back to our TV settings, composition, and give it a preview. And you can see all the colors blinking and fading and doing all the effects that we gave it, that we told it to do. So let's see. Now we'll let's go ahead and add something to the Paris JPEG. Maybe in the beginning, why don't we add the hue and saturation now to our Paris? Okay, and let's go ahead and give that a keyframe, our channel range, and let me hit the U. It shows me my keyframe down here. Let's make it real light. Make it white. And I'm going to move it over here, maybe to here at 20 frames, and let's move this back down to we'll just change it here. I'm just going to change here to 0. You know what? Let's add some saturation. So if we got a cartoony look logo, I'm going to move this up to about 60. Give it almost a cartoon look on the, really drum up those colors to kind of match that cartoon logo. So here it'll come in to our picture, and then I'll move it over maybe to about here. Let me give it a hold frame. So on my channel range, I'm going to click over here. That'll be my hold keyframe. And then towards the end, I'll try to fade it to black. And maybe we'll just do it about here. And so move our lightness down until it turns black. Okay, go ahead and I'm going to grab the transparency keyframes and that. I might also have everything fade out at the same time. Scratch it. Let's maybe give it just a hair, a few frames at the end. Okay. And let's preview it. Spacebar preview. It's got all sorts of effects. Okay, and maybe one last thing. Maybe we can try to render it. So I'm finished with all the effects and everything, so let's do a quick render. Make sure you're under your TV settings. This is where I have everything. Everything's all set up in here. So let's go under composition, add to render queue. We got best, lossless. That's probably, I do want to know where I'm setting this to, so make sure it's going to my desktop. We'll call this effects lesson 2, desktop, save, render. And that's it. And then I'll go back and look at that, and maybe I'll do another video where we change that .mov file. And that's the end of this lesson.